Now, aid agencies are warning that time is running out to rescue people in Turkey and Syria who are trapped in the rubble of buildings that were destroyed by Monday's powerful earthquakes. The number of dead has risen to more than 8,300. Our Middle East correspondent Anna Foster has spent the past 2 days travelling towards the epicentre of the earthquake in southeastern Turkey. And she was one of the first journalists to arrive there from the severely hit city of Kahramanmaraş. She has sent us this report.
Here at the epicentre, every rescuer is waiting for this moment. After hours trapped in the rubble, a sign of life, a family complete again. Each survivor feels like a miracle. But these are hard and painful days, and not everyone gets to experience hope. This powerful quake has claimed thousands of lives. In Maraş, it's taken the heart of a city too. The destruction is vast. There is a bitterly cold wind here today, and it is whipping up the smoke and the debris and the particles of dirt. It goes in your eyes, it goes in your throat. And despite that, the rescuers are still here on top of this pile of rubble. This is a whole city block in the centre of Maraş, maybe 9 or 10 buildings now just melded together into a huge pile of twisted metal and broken glass. And still they search in the hope of finding survivors underneath all of this. People here wonder if they can ever rebuild. Maraş is finished, they told me. Maraş is finished. Under a flattened building in Adıyaman, a child cries. Fatima, a man shouts into a hole in the debris. We don't know what happened to her. Here, there are no emergency services. Nobody can help. The scars run right across southern Turkey. The same desperate scenes in each town. Today, President Erdogan declared a state of emergency. When night falls, the searching becomes harder than ever, but there are small victories. Where's my mum? Ume cries as she's carried to safety. Many areas are still without power tonight. Some people are homeless. Others are just too scared to go back indoors.
They are speaking, but nobody comes. We are finished. We are finished, my God. There is nobody here. Nobody. What kind of state is this?
In the winter snow, this part of Turkey is bitterly cold. People burn what they can in the street to keep warm, but it doesn't hold off the biting wind and the feelings of abandonment. Only a fraction of the help needed has arrived here so far. It makes each day feel like a fresh struggle for survival. Anna Foster, BBC News, Maraş.
Well, let's talk to Anna now, who can join us live from Maraş in Turkey. Anna, good morning. We were just listening to your report there. So people have managed to get through another bitterly cold night, and the search continues this morning.
It does. In fact, you can see just behind me there, these are people, families who've come back out this morning, who are waiting, I say, for news of loved ones in this collapsed building behind me, but actually what they're waiting for is bodies. It's an awful and tragic situation because they don't believe that anybody is still alive in here. And that is why they are using that big digger to not carefully and painstakingly go through this rubble, but to really clear it as much as they can to try and find the bodies, to reunite them with their loved ones. This shift, if you like, has just started again this morning. The digger has moved back into action. And you can see even as well, some of these people, and I watched them do this overnight as well, they're trying to search themselves because they know that underneath this pile of rubble, which was a 9-story apartment building, 4 flats on each floor, there could be as many as 100 bodies, if not more. they know that this is a slow process and they want to do everything they can. You know, they wait for news, they want to try and help, they want to try and find some sort of closure on this part of the nightmare at least.
And now that we are more than 2 days on from when this earthquake took place, are you seeing more help arrive? Of course, people are trying to fly in from international rescue operations, etc. Are you seeing more of that arrive where you are?
It is. You can see it. You can see as the tents start to be put up, you can see the number of vehicles on the streets increasing. In fact, this rescue team is bigger than it was last night. There are more people here who've arrived overnight who are joining in the search. The problem is that actually getting here is so difficult. Flying into the main airport in Adana is one thing, but then actually driving here where the main highway, the main road is out of action because it's held by pillars which they think are structurally unsound. So everything is traveling on mountain roads. It's creating a gridlock with people who are trying to get out, rescuers who are trying to get in. So all of that means that help, while it is arriving slowly, and it is so desperately needed because this is just one apartment block of thousands across this part of southern Turkey that have been affected, that have collapsed, and that will need to be searched and cleared, probably not in the next few days, probably more in the next few weeks.
Yeah, as you say, there is just enormous amounts to do. The search continues, the rubble, etc. But people's needs now, they must be getting hungry. You need food, water, basic supplies as well, we assume.
Yeah. And, trying to find those things is really difficult. And it is the aid workers, the NGOs who are bringing them in. All of the shops here are closed. The one place that you tend to find still open is petrol stations. The queues are huge. People are gathering with water bottles just to try and get a small amount of fuel. And when you go inside, the shelves are completely bare, and they have been for days now. Things like shelter, you'll see people walking around wrapped in blankets and duvets. There are things like tents, relief tents that are coming, but again, they're coming slowly. People were out on the streets again last night. As you heard, they're burning what they could to try to keep warm. You're absolutely right to say that, for those people who are still alive, conditions are just awful. It's bitterly cold. I don't know if you can see the snow-capped mountains here. This is in the mountains. It's cold, it's windy. These buildings aren't safe for people to go into. So in terms of shelter, they really have nothing to protect them from these elements.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine, as you say, people are having to scale down their hope of finding survivors, finding people alive. But there is still that hope, isn't there? We've heard extraordinary stories in previous experiences like this where people have been found days later.
You're right. And when those stories happen, and they are happening, that news spreads, and you see people when they have a phone signal, watching on social media these videos of maybe a child being rescued, a family being reunited. Those things, they sweep across the country. They give that tiny bit of hope that people need. But, in a place like this, it's also striking that even to reunite families with a body makes such a difference. Last night, I watched them bring 4 bodies out of this rubble, 3 adults and a child. They bring them out and they lay them on the ground here, right where I'm standing. And just that action, I think, for families to be able to just place their hands on the bodies, to be able to say a prayer and to say goodbye before they're put into metal coffins and taken away in the vans that you see almost constantly on the streets of this city. Even that brings a strange sort of, hope is not the right word, because at that point hope is gone, but it brings, I think, a necessary closure to those people. And that is why they are still continuing so hard with things like this, which is not a rescue effort, which is a recovery effort, because they know how much this means to people.